Good evening, everyone. Today is February 1st, 2024, and we're going to recap our Disney day trade idea from today. We're going to kind of touch on the flow and go over the trade and the contracts, and I ended up scratching it because of the spreads. Just going to kind of go over everything here. So, first off, and this was a public idea as well, but I'm pulling this from Discord. Obviously, this was the update this morning. I had my update. We also had AMD puts here today too. So kind of some notes I put in here in the morning. So that was kind of our this was our call out Disney 97 puts greater than 97.45. So let's touch on the flow first. So this was the flow from 131. Obviously you can see we had a lot of bid side calls coming in here about 10 minutes before close on the 2990 calls here. So bid side calls could either be one of two things: somebody closing a position or somebody selling calls. They're either looking for the stock to stay flat if they're selling calls or go down. You want that premium here to pretty much go away. So you want these contracts to erode to zero essentially, so you can collect that premium. So we had those bid side 90 calls here for 2.9. We also had more 2.9 bid side calls on the 90-98 call. And a little earlier in the day, we had two shorter term puts here, a little bigger sized whale here on the 2.297 puts. And we had a floor trader here on the 2.2 puts, deeper in the money, obviously. And earlier in the day, we also had 98 puts. You can see same timing here, and a little bigger premium here as well. So that was kind of the flow there. So dissecting the trade here and switch that off there. Here is our trade. So again, entry was 97.45, and the spreads were really odd on this one at open. For those that have been following me for a while, I don't call out big spreads. I like that about 1 penny, 2 penny spread. And let's see if we can see it here as well. So 97, yeah, even right now it's a 19-point spread. This is something like, now if I was going to call this out today, I would not call this out because the spread's huge there. So going back here, this was a really easy trade otherwise if our spreads would have cooperated. I mean, this is a easy trade where you can size out perfectly and all that. So here's our trade. We shot up here right at open, and I did make a note. I do put notes out in Discord as the trades trigger and all that, and I said watch the spreads, wait for the spreads to come down, or if you can get a really good fill, go ahead and fill. So I actually ended up getting in at 0.60, I believe, was my trigger thing there. I'll pull it up on the contracts. We'll go over the contracts here in a second. But we came down here, came back up a little bit here, and then we obviously made a nice, you can easily see just right here, we made, and more than likely you're not going to hold past this because you're coming back up, but this is almost a 1% move down. About, well, to here it's a 1.25% move for the max here. You can obviously see that right up there. Wanted to disappear on me, but a little over 1% move down here. That's really good for a day trade. And we had this big bar here, which really helped. I put a note out here. Spreads were really goofy here, so I wanted to take profits. I ended up going, I believe, 60 to 68, 69 ish. So a little over 10%. Not something I liked, but the spreads were not in our favor. So obviously, you can see it was a nice, clean, easy trade down. And if you hung in here, this would have been probably a good spot to size out if you have trailing stops on, or if you're adjusting stops up, you're probably going to hit there. And obviously, just down here and very choppy throughout the day and just kind of slowly came back up. I mean, this is a very easy trade to do. So let's look at the contract here. So it was the 97 puts here. And again, I've filled at 60, so I'm going to go with that. But our trigger would, and we didn't actually reject here. So when we came up, what I'm looking for is a hit and a rejection. So we broke through, and I said, wait for those spreads to tighten up a little bit. So probably could have got in here about 834, possibly if the spreads were a little tighter. So 97 put here. Let's move this over to today. So here is today, obviously 2-1. So about that 834, and I got in about 60, and that's the high end here. So if you would have just hit the ask, you would have got filled at 60. I didn't hit the ask. The spreads were just moving really goofy, and you can easily see, here we go, very smooth climb on the contracts, and they did end up hitting about 123 for a max return, and obviously you're not going to get that max return. Again, this is probably that spot where you were sized out 67-ish, and with this weird spreads, that didn't help. But I know some people in Discord got out about 82. Some people got filled at 50. It was a bunch of odd fills here, so something I typically don't like doing, just with those weird fills. But yeah, I mean, you can see you had adequate time to get out here, so this ended up, I mean, the max return would have been 60 to 123, so a little over 105%, 108%. So not a bad trade at all. And I just want to pull this up one more time just so everybody can see. So again, yeah, this was our entry, and kind of how I found this entry. So let's bump this out to the 1 hour chart as well. Reset this here. Pretty easy one to see here how I found this entry. Obviously the last 3-4 days, this was the top. Rejection, rejection, rejection there, rejection, and obviously really odd candle there. And coming down on the 30-minute, again, rejection, rejection into the next day. So, and this one was a little tougher to find because look where we were on the day chart. The last 4 days were highs since back in May 10th of last year. So kind of had to go off that. So not a lot to go off here, obviously, but otherwise that was just kind of a quick little trade recap there. Bump this back down to 1 minute. So just pull it up one more time so everybody can see. So I mean, very, very easy rejection here. And if there's ever trade ideas that I call out, again, I'm always looking, like this would be an ideal spread. 0.2 is a nice ideal spread. And I mean, I do not like stuff like this. That 2 cent, 1 cent spread is usually what I'm aiming for. So again, that's kind of the reason why I scratched it as well too. Just wanted to get out of those spreads. Didn't want us to go up and get for stops to hit based on that. So otherwise, that's all I got for today. Hope everybody made some money on Disney today. So have a great evening, everyone.